And it wasn't about me being a chaplain. It was about the ministry of presence. To be with the surgeon when he talked to the family about what happened. I was with the family from the minute they came and I got the page until the time they walked out of that door. I was there for some support. When my mother got killed in Charleston, like I said, I lived in Dallas, Texas. So it was a whole different ball game for me because I didn't live in the community. Charleston did have getting the news because things started to be reported on the television is how I found out something was happening in Charleston. I carried a lot of guilt because I was not there in the beginning. The church did as much as they could, but because the church had never been involved in such a situation, did not know how to minister to the families because the church was reeling just as much as the families. I pray that whatever church, or even sometimes the families aren't connected to a church. So we just have to be there as people with an open heart, willing to do whatever we can to help people. But as a chaplain, I have a chaplain's heart, and my mission is always to walk with families and to give them what they need at that time when they're. But the church really didn't know how to handle that situation. Yeah. And that's a lot of churches don't know how to handle those kind of situations. But as a faith leader, sometimes preachers,
the opposition, the stigma that's sometimes negative that comes with being clergy, don't let that stop you from responding. Continue to be sensitive. Don't get desensitized to the work. Chief Madry and others was talking, and a lot of times when it's traumatic experiences that's happening over and over and over again, we grow numb. Oh, another shooting. Oh, now. Oh, you know. But as faith leaders, we have to tap in and find spaces, number one, for self-care, find spaces that you can be revitalized and rejuvenated, and that you can go back out again. We are needed like never before. I mentioned earlier that we just had two triple shootings over the past week, lost 2 in it, 2 or 3 others injured. And when that's happening in our area, we're under 20,000 people in East St. Louis now after the census. The per capita, we are 27 more times likely to be shot and killed in East St. Louis than any other U.S. city. Nice. And so my word to you all is, one, continue to, as I said, surround yourself with people who are talking like-minded, because at the end of the day, no matter what's happening, people are going to come to the church. They're going to look for a clergywoman or a clergyman. And we must be able to respond. One of the roles I talked about, the urban chaplaincy piece, is we help churches set up social justice ministries in your churches so that you're able to respond in your community, because that's important. Because there's so many issues that's happening. The shootings that's happening are outside of the church, or you're called to eulogize the family members, or somebody in your church, it was their grandson or their uncle or their little cousin. And the trauma that is perpetuated earlier, the group that's in this room and those that are not here, whether we're going to the city halls, the mayor's offices, to the White House, coming together collectively as one voice so that we can continue to advocate for the resources that are needed in our communities. And to your point, Doctor, this is a pandemic that has been happening before COVID was ever declared. And it is increasing. And it's not just the 20 to the 29-year-olds. It's not just male, it's now female.
is that we don't convert this conversation
About
into
drugs at
that
this
when
point.
these events happen, it's mental health to blame, and that we
Thank
don't
you.
make it
Right.
violence or drugs in particular. I can't speak for all of the state work, but there is a lot that is done by many healthcare organizations, including our own in Northwell, to try to address the issues that come around drugs and other forms of abuse. And I would just say it's clearly you're at risk when you are exposed as a child to drugs and violent ways, and it builds up over your life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Smart
All
guy.
right, so, Dr. Moses, who's over here? We have someone who is able to give folks a mic.
He's right here. Yeah, maybe we can get somebody on that side too.
Yeah.
Live Free. I work on a national level with them. Been to the White House several times, but the work is on every level. And so survivors, we need support in all areas, and this is where clergy in 2006. Why is it still $6,000 now? So everything has gone up, especially the price of but this has not gone up,
Can't find
the
it.
first line in the application is the victim must have been an innocent victim of a crime. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? And so clergy, you guys can support us in other areas as well, behind it, because sometimes it really gets out there, because all of that brings memories, of what you're fighting for, of who you're fighting for, of why you're fighting, and so I just want to build some things on different levels. Of course, the local, national platform that we also have to just make.
Today, clergy, and I'm trying to do what Pastor Bill said, but I want to challenge really clergy, including myself. So we're Harlem Clergy United and Beyond, as well as Garden Assembly Ministries. But when the Reverend talked about getting out in the street and being in the street, and clergy to be able to do that, and I know some of us are doing it, but we really need to do that.
The borough presidents get the funding. They also go to the community board, so people don't even know that they can get funding.
Extremely high, and so I was surprised that a mother that I just met was not told about crime victims compensation as well. So a lot of times it's dependent on who's in their ear. I was told straight from the precinct, you gotta go downtown and say for our legislation and things like that, and what can be asked for and how it can be increased.
Right. And I also think that, if I am not mistaken, Pastor Senator Myrie and a few senators have put some money into domestic violence. So you have a specific portion of money from the state for that. So it's there. You just need to find the program. Reach out to us. Show you that we have to fill out the application for discretionary funding. All right? Yes, Pastor Zach. He's turning.
I do have to leave, so it's so first, just to faith leaders, just one brief comment is sermons are not enough. Sermons are not enough. Restorative justice practices need to be in our churches, because people need to be having healing conversations in our churches. Sermons can't reach that. You have to start to change the way you disciple your people. I'm talking to faith leaders, so if you want to talk more about that, I have lots of resources. Question to the NYPD specifically. You talked about having these NCOs involved in reaching faith leaders in communities. Here's my struggle. A shooting happens in my community, and through the God Squad's great resources, I know who to ask when that happens. I go to find the NCO, I go to make sure I know who the CO is to ask the questions. But repeatedly, a shooting happens in my community, I go to ask an officer about how I can support by being a faith leader in that space, and I'm met with silence and no response. That needs to change, and I can tell you 5 precincts where that's happened, and it's happened repeatedly. I am there to
That connection.
And here's the connection. I'm going to have a clergy unit in each borough,
So we'll go to that unit.
and that's to be run by Inspector Taylor.
Inspector Taylor, you're here.
That's why I brought him here.
Okay, good. So I'm glad that you're here. Everybody remember Inspector Taylor?
Inspector Taylor.
We got you, Inspector Taylor. Thank you so much for that. What you were saying? How long?
Let me tell you something. This department takes a long time. I've been trying to do this for almost a year, but we're getting close. Hopefully within the next month or so.
Okay, good. All right, great.
Marcy has a question.
Question. I'll take that table.
Thank you, Dr. Gill.
Professor.
My question is, and I'm going back to the topic of funding. You spoke about funding that's available for groups, right? And so there are groups, organizations that are receiving funding. How do we hold these groups accountable to do what they're being funded to do when you have groups right in here who are doing the work and are fighting hard to get the funding to continue doing the work that we're already doing?
So, Reverend Cabral, you want to respond to that? He said no. Yeah, 1 second. Reverend Cabral said no, but that is definitely.
I was kidding.
Oh, okay.
So the accountability factor is a huge one. When it comes to the council member giving funds, it is really up to the council member to do a review, year by year review on where the funding actually got invested in the community. Because sometimes people request for funding and it didn't go exactly how it was planned, and to review whether it should be renewed the following year. Let me just share something about discretionary funding. What happens with council members, they usually have the same groups getting the same funding. And that's what makes it difficult for the next group to come in. So unless you have a nonprofit that, they're no longer doing service, or whether they don't want to receive the funding for whatever reason, or they got disqualified, it's very hard at times to come in for the new organizations to come in. But what I learned is when you do good work, good grassroots work, and at a local level in that council matter district, the council member will come looking for you because they're looking for good programs to fund.
Pastor Gill, can I just respond?
Yes.
So, Reverend Cabrera?
Yes.
All right.
We have in our district, okay, our council member knows our work, shows up for our work, and yet still we have not received more than $10,000.
Yeah, I don't think you can respond to that, but okay, no problem.
So, again, goes back to my question about accountability needs to be placed now on the council members, because the groups are getting the work done, and yet still we're going to receive $5,000 year after year after year.
Got you.
Not fair at all.
All right, thank you so much.
I think that we have to do more work. We cannot depend just on discretionary funds. Because firstly, you have to get to know them. And you said, like you said, you know your council member, this, that, and the other. But I'm coming up with that hiccup where I am in East Harlem. As far as my council member, because she more like senior services, so it's a bump in the road. But it's a lot of funding out there for grants. It's a lot of other type of funding, and I think sometimes where we keep our work under one branch, like for clergy, y'all can apply under youth, y'all can apply under survivors, y'all can apply under so many different things. But I think we just got to do more work. I think a lot of times we make.
So I just want to let you know that
No flyer, card.
We are one of the major.
Can you have a camera? Can you take a photo, Mike?
This conference happens here. It's attendance of one of our members in Florida. So we are looking to work with them to see how we can actually get involved. If it's in this panel, this symposium, whatever we can do in that area, we're looking to work with you. That's number one. Number two, with the
It wasn't me?
Nothing.
I wanted to know if it's me or is it?
Oh, you!
Oh, me?
Oh,
Okay.
you're the mayor here.
What's your budget again?
This is not about budget now.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Go to your next question. Let's go to your question.
I just come back from here for the and the third question is, as Kevin is going to be working on programs
Thank you.
I'll take that question.
Bring him, come.
Yes, sir. Sure, because we
And I'll be
you
very
heard the
brief.
music, though. They
Yeah.
kicking us out.
I'll be brief again.
Because the next time that the music comes on, that's it, the light goes on.
Listen, I'll be very brief with you. When I got
Okay,
here,
thank you, my friend.
I looked at the way the program is set up, you know, in police department. And all our site, I know what precinct that you're talking about, but I've known a lot of the NCOs are being used in terms of shortage of cops, being used for cars, being pulled for Saturday night lights. So, but talk to Rich Taylor afterwards, we'll work it out with you.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. I think basketball is an awesome way to get the
Yes,
attention
yes,
of our youth.
yes.
You have to catch the fish before you can scale them.
Thank you.
You know, and I think that using basketball as an incentive,
Yes.
when you do the mentorship programs and other
Other
things like that,
programs.
because some of them aren't interested in all of that. But if you say, if you come to this program, you do this, then you'll be on our basketball team.
Yes.
That's a real catcher.
Again, this is what I said.
Clean that up.
Our end to all cannot be basketball. There's some youth that don't play any sports. So we have basketball is there, but I'm saying that cannot be my end all.
like that.
It's just basketball.
That's so.
So basketball is there. We have a blue chip program. We have 740 kids. We have volleyball and flag football. We have 650 kids. So again, I say, that's not my end to all, it's just basketball. There's kids that play volleyball, there's kids who's into reading, science, we have it all.
There's only
Fantastic.
five guys
I'm
on a
gonna give
basketball
some
team.
Brief announcements. We have, as many of you know, we have the adopt a shelter plan where we are pairing houses of worship with shelters. So far, I want to let you know we have 60 houses of worship that are doing the work. Come on, give me
All
a
right.
big round of applause.
Great.
We have next month the Main Summit, which is going to be March the 16th. It's going to be from 10 to 2. The lineup is amazing. I want to let you know that you will receive a tremendous download of information. As someone who comes from that space, my doctorate in counseling, my licensed mental health counselor, and I want to tell you that the lineup that is coming on to share with you, you're going to be enriched and you're going to receive tools so you could better serve your community. And also, we have, we're going to post right now the QR code so you can hear from Eric, from our mayor. That's literally the west side, hearing from Eric, from our mayor. So you could get information that many times, to be honest with you, gets filtered from the media that you're not getting, but you need to know what's going on so you could better serve the community. Thank you so much.